A few adjustments were made to Yuel's third dance 2L to make a combo into third dance's medium attack. Previously, you couldn't do this. By increasing the launch height, the hit stun recovery by 3 frames, and allowing you to cancel third dance's 2L into third dance's medium in the later half of the active frames, you're now able to combo into it. This is nice because in situations where you want to end any combos with third dance's 2L, you now have an additional follow-up that you can do that gives you better Okizeme. Here you're a plus 28. But after this, you're now plus 34. This can greatly improve the options for mix-ups that Yuel can go for here in this situation now. In the context of her third dance stance, this means that her low conversions off of this are a little more threatening, both in terms of pressure that you get as well as the damage. If you wanted to loop offense into it again like that, you had to settle for 2400 damage and be plus 28. Now, because you're able to get an additional hit in here, this is the situation. Now you get an extra about 600 damage with about 6 more plus frames to work with overall. And effectively, this also means that you get the same knockdown off of either just going for the raw overhead or going for your low, meaning that your offense overall is a little more ambiguous for the opponent to have to deal with. This also means that her pressure at mid-screen is improved as well. Previously, you'd have to settle for a situation like this, where you did 2400 damage overall and you were plus 14. And now, you can be a lot closer to the enemy with 3000 damage on the board and be plus 20 in their face. A really nice change. In the previous patch, third dance's counter was nerfed pretty significantly, to the point where if you use this against any move that had iframes to it, like a DP or a super, Yuel's follow-up would actually not reach the opponent and she'd be hit out of it. I was very critical of this functionality because this effectively hurt the purpose of the tool. Yuel can't block when she's in third dance, so this is her only defensive option for it. If the opponent wanted to full commit to busting out with some sort of reversal and Yuel was stuck in third dance, there really wasn't anything that she could do about it except for make a hard read preemptively and get out of the stance itself. There's 2 really great buffs for this counter move now. For starters, there's 5 more counter frame active windows on it, so instead of being a 1 to 10 frame window, it's now a 1 to 15 frame window for this move to work. Additionally, even if the enemy is invincible, like they're doing a DP or a Skybound art, this counter will actually hit them out of it now. This is a buff that is basically a revision of its functionality to what it was when the game first launched, and honestly, this is fantastic for Yuel. One caveat I need to mention about this, though, is that you must know the hit property of your opponent's Skybound arts, because depending on whether or not it's a strike or a projectile, you're going to have varying ranges of success. Against a strike, like Sandalphon's Skybound art, it'll work just fine. However, his super Skybound art, Paradise Lost, is actually programmed as a projectile. I try to parry it, but because Paradise Lost for Sandalphon is programmed as a projectile, I'm not actually able to do that one. So make sure you know what opponent's supers are projectiles, because that's not an option that you can rely on in those matchups. Started Skype's pushback on block has been increased. Previously, you were pretty close to the opponent -3, and close enough for them to jab, so you basically had to decide if you wanted to try to reversal or hold pressure here. The pushback on block has been dramatically increased. Yuel is very much outside of Sandalphon's far light range. So this means that she's going to be able to use this as a neutral tool to safely poke at the opponent and then disengage and reevaluate her offense. A nice little change that just gives her another way to try and shoulder her way in. Honestly, this is a great patch for Yuel. She's got her old functionality on her parry back, minus, of course, the effectiveness against projectiles, but the fact that she can react to some invincible reversals and parry them to punish them is a great boon for the defensive capabilities of third dance stance and makes her offensive pressure even more terrifying. Not to mention that she's doing more damage from her low conversions in that stance, speeding up the game plan of hers so that she's able to close out rounds much faster than she could before. It's a very nice patch for Yuel overall and pretty much addressed most of the complaints that I had towards third dance stance functionality in the previous patch. Well done, Arxis and Cygames.